Hi everyone, this is my run on the Divine Diabolos Lufenia stage, and the strategy that I'm using in this battle will be using Eald'narche's Terror, or very commonly referred to the Eald'narche Phase strategy. It works really well in this fight, and I'll be covering some of the reasons why and some of the strategic decisions made as the battle progresses. As always, I will also be including a timestamp in the video description that you can use to jump ahead to the section that you are interested in. Now the fight can be tricky depending on who you have built up, and there are two things really quickly to take note of. First of all, of course, is the Lufenia orb, which will tick down from the start of battle. It starts off at a count of 12 and will only disappear once Diabolos hits 79% health. It will appear again once he's below 50% health, and the way to counter the orb in this fight is to grant 6 or more buffs in one action. So for example, if you buff 2 buffs per party member, that's 6 buffs or more, it will increase the orb counter by 15. So you need some sort of buffer in your party to manage the Lufenia orb. The second thing that makes this fight quite tricky is the fact that at 79% when the orb disappears, Diabolos will also use a move automatically called Dark Energies. When it uses Dark Energies, it cleanses itself of all debuffs. It will gain debuff immunity. It will gain elemental absorption on all elements. And the elemental absorption will only go away once it gets its next turn. You can remove the debuff immunity by doing a launch, and if the launch does 200,000 or more HP damage, it will remove the debuff immunity. So the key strategy behind this party composition, firstly, is that the entire party uses non-elemental attacks, so elemental absorption isn't an issue. Secondly, Ramza also provides the launch. So in other words, once Diabolos hits 79%, Ramza does a launch. It will remove the debuff immunity, and therefore you can reapply all debuffs including Terror. Eald'narche also works quite well because in this fight in particular, Diabolos actually follows a set pattern of attack. Diabolos' first attack is always going to be a single target brave attack. I believe it's the Dia Flare. And its second attack is also only a brave attack, which is a group AoE brave attack, which I believe is Gravija. It sets all your party's brave to 1 and inflicts turn rate down, but otherwise it's pretty harmless. On Diabolos' third turn, it will get a full recast bar and will start and will queue its recast ability, which is a group AoE brave and HP attack. So the idea behind using Eald'narche is to inflict terror before Diabolos' third turn, or in other words, inflict terror when Diabolos has its full recast bar, and thereafter essentially keep Diabolos terror locked for the rest of the fight until the very end. Do note though that the fight does have a fairly tight turn count, and you are required to clear within 60 turns. Having said that, you might be wondering about Eald'narche's damage potential, particularly with Relm, where they are both slightly outdated. It still works fairly well here, and I actually cleared within 46 turns with this party composition. And the reason is both Eald'narche and Relm gets free follow-up turns, so their follow-up attack after Diabolos' turn does not contribute to the turn count. Likewise with Ramza, using his HP+++ attack also does not contribute to the turn count. So in essence, many of the turns that you'll be taking are turns that do not contribute to the turn count, and that really allows the team to succeed in terms of meeting the turn count objective. I'll cover a bit more about the party setup, so I'll see you there. Okay, so very quickly on the party setup and friend support, there are a few key elements that you really need to prepare before the fight. So first of all, in terms of the call ability for Ramza, I actually set root, and my root has 3 attack 108 C50 artifact passives. The idea behind using a root call is to actually trigger Odin's blessing at the start. So if you're not aware, using root's call, as long as he has at least 2 C50 artifacts equipped, will actually activate Odin's blessing and increases your entire party's attack by 30%. And this essentially lasts the entire fight. Besides that, in terms of friend support, I actually used a Noctis friend support. And the reason behind that is actually also to help in terms of the turn count. So Noctis is there mainly to allow for his LD use, and therefore allows your entire party to spam abilities for a short window of time without contributing to the overall turn count. It also allows turn manipulation and will give you the chance to use Eald'narche HP attack or abilities to charge his EX meter before Diabolos gets a turn. There are potentially other friend supports that could work. I was also considering using a Sephiroth friend support. Although Sephiroth wouldn't provide turn count efficiency, he does provide a very nice debuff that allows your entire party to hit harder. So that's also another great option that you can consider. Otherwise, the spheres and artifact passives are as outlined. You will notice that my Eald'narche has not very good artifacts. I haven't really farmed any artifacts for him, and I'm just waiting for his event for the artifacts. That's it for the party setup. I'll head off into the battle. Okay, so the start of the fight is actually pretty straightforward. You want Eald'narche's first 2 turns to be just using his Uranus Cascade, and I'm just waiting for Diabolos to get a full recast bar before I pop his phase shift. With Relm, you don't need to be too conservative on skill users because you will be swapping her out for the friend support later in the fight. And with Ramza, it's very important on his very first turn to use the root call to immediately activate the 30% blessing from the Odin summon. I use Ramzas LD here to get his LD overhead buff, but the other reason behind that is also to cause a launch and delay on the boss to allow a bit more time or delay until it gets a full recast bar. So this helps me charge Eald'narche's EX meter in the meantime. So the first attack is always their flare, which is very harmless, and it doesn't even matter whether it breaks you or not. Okay, on Diabolos' second turn, it will always use Gravager, and you can see it resets everyone's Brave to 1, but otherwise it's a harmless attack. It does get significant Brave after that, but you can easily shave it with your party. And at this point, Diabolos has a full recast bar, and this is when you want to go into phase shift with Eald'narche to inflict terror. So right after that, I use Omega Javelin so that I can inflict warp as well. you do need to keep a close eye on the Lufenia orb counter as the battle progresses, and each time it goes around 5 or lower, that's when you need to use Galvanize with Ramza. Ramzas Galvanise is actually very precious. You need 3 Galvanize for the last 49% of Diabolos' HP. So the way I use his Galvanize is I use up to 2 on the first 20% of the health. Once the orb disappears, I actually do not use any Galvanize at all, even if the buffs expire on Relm or Eald'narche. And I'm actually saving all 3 Galvanize until Diabolos hits 49%. Okay, so 79% health, Diabolos will delay itself, but will gain debuff immunity as well as elemental absorption. So here, I'm just continuing on the onslaught until Ramza gets his next turn. Okay, so on Ramza's turn, I'm using his second LD, and launching Diabolos here will actually remove the debuff immunity, and it's very important before Diabolos' next turn to nail him with terror again. Once you remove debuff immunity, this is actually where I use Eald'narche's AA to stick 4 turns of terror debuff on Diabolos. And here on Eald'narche's next turn, I use Omega Javelin while his AA is up so that I can also inflict 4 turns of warp. From this point on, it's very straightforward. Diabolos is Terra locked for 4 turns, and the idea is to try to charge Eald'narche's EX in the meantime so that you can hit Diabolos with Terra again once the EX is up. One tip here if you are using Eald'narche is that you actually don't want to use his EX until Terra has completely expired from the boss. The idea is that you want to maximize each and every Terra count as long as possible and space out the EX use as far apart as possible so that you can have as many turns to provide damage as much as possible. Okay, at about 40% health during one of Relm's free turns. So the free turn is when she gets a free follow-up after Diabolos takes a turn. That's when you want to swap her out for Noctis. Swapping in Noctis at this point actually gives you 6 turns of Noctis. And the idea here is to abuse Noctis's LD so that all 3 of your party members can repeatedly move before Diabolos without taking any single turn count. Interestingly, Noctis's LD also recharges the Lufenia orb. I actually made a mistake here. On hindsight, if Ramza is actually buffed by warpstep, it's actually better to use Shout with Ramza than to use his HP+++, because Shout wouldn't take the turn count while he's buffed with warpstep, and at least using Shout will help him to recharge his EX meter more quickly. Okay, so Noctis friend support is over and Relm comes back. So at this point, you notice that Diabolos is already quite low. So it's really a matter of whittling him down while he's terror locked. I was actually contemplating saving my summon and trying to complete the fight without summon, but I actually popped my summon later on. here I actually pop summon, and the only reason for that is Diabolos is in a launchable state. And I popped summon so that I could capitalize on Relm battering the entire party, leading to a very damaging launch. Now here you'll notice that unfortunately Ramzas Shout expired, which was really a big mistake on my part, and that was why while Noctis is out, it's actually better to spam Shout with Ramza. So having said that, I may have come too far, and I just have to rebuild his Shout stacks again. But don't make the same mistake I did. Always keep an eye on Ramza's buff, and use Shout while he's buffed with Noctis warpstep, and use Shout while inside summon, because during those times Shout wouldn't contribute to the turn count. So it's a pretty comfortable win. I'm only at turn 44 here, and you see that I'm actually using Eald'narche's EX again, which actually gives another 2 turns of terror. So potentially I could go on for quite a few more number of turns, but I managed to finish off Diabolos on turn 46 here. So that's it. I hope this video has been helpful. If you enjoy the content, do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you in the next Lufenia fight. Bye bye.